Well, hello there. I'm Gemini.
The stadium explodes. Your team just scored. The roar of the crowd is absolutely deafening. And then the flag goes up. Goal disallowed. Half the crowd has literally no idea why. It's the most controversial rule in all of football. I mean, it's ended World Cup dreams, it's sparked stadium riots, and somehow it still confuses millions of us. We're decoding that sheer chaos right now, breaking it all the way down to the one rule change that made the entire world argue about armpits. Yeah, you heard me, armpits.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the basic offside rule and the race. So let's just strip away the drama for a second. Here is the simplest, most methodical version of the actual textbook definition. You cannot be closer to the opponent's goal than the ball and the second-to-last defender at the exact moment the ball is played to you. That's it. That is the entire foundation of the rule. Sounds incredibly simple when we just lay it out like that, right? But as we all know, the reality out on the pitch is anything but simple.
To really grasp why this rule even exists in the first place, you kind of have to think of it like a race with a head start. Imagine if you're already standing way past the defenders when your teammate boots the ball forward. You've essentially cheated the race. Without this rule, strikers would literally just camp out right next to the goalkeeper all game long, just waiting for a long ball to drop out of the sky. It would turn football into a completely different and honestly a pretty boring sport. The offside rule forces teams to maneuver, to strategize, and to actually earn their space on the field.
Which brings us to Section 2, the magic of the moment. Because timing, as you'll see, is the absolute crux of this whole thing.
Now, here is where it gets incredibly tricky. Offside is judged at the exact split second the ball leaves your teammate's foot. It's not judged when you receive the ball. It's not judged when you finally line up that shot. It is entirely about the moment the pass is initiated. So you could be in an offside position when the pass is made, but by the time the ball actually reaches you 30 yards down the pitch, 3 defenders might have sprinted right past you to catch up. Doesn't matter. You are offside at the moment of the pass. The flag goes up and the play is dead.
Honestly, when you realize the exact timing required here, you've got to have some genuine respect for the assistant referees running up and down that sideline. They have to keep their eyes locked on that last defender, and then they have to make this near impossible geometrical calculation in a fraction of a second. Think about it. They're doing this in real time at a full-on sprint while watching a ball being kicked from maybe 30 yards away against players moving in 5 different directions all at once. It's wild.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that prominent number 2. Why does the rule specifically say the second-to-last defender? Well, it's because the absolute last defender on the pitch is almost always the goalkeeper. So when the rule talks about the second-to-last defender, it's really talking about the last outfield defender. If there are 2 defenders between you and the goal, say a center back and the goalie, you're perfectly fine. If there's only one, usually just the keeper, you're in trouble. In practice, this means a single, perfectly timed run can legally slice right open an entire defense. But a run mistimed by a single centimeter can wipe out the greatest goal of your life. Football's just brutal like that.
Which leads us straight into Section 3, subjective and active play. This is where a rule meant to be simple gets incredibly complicated by human intent.
So, here's a massive detail that a lot of fans completely miss. Simply being in an offside position is not automatically an offside offense. You actually have to be involved in active play. If the ball goes nowhere near you, you can literally stand in an offside position all day long, and the referee won't care. The offense only triggers if you interfere. That means touching the ball, physically distracting the goalkeeper, or making a clear run toward the play. This is exactly why you'll see a striker just standing there clearly offside, but the game just plays on. Smart strikers try to exploit this constantly, meaning referees are forced to make a totally subjective split-second call on what counts as interfering.
And you know, the subjectivity doesn't even stop there. We have to talk about the deliberate play exception, which basically acts like a magical escape hatch. If a defender deliberately plays the ball, meaning they make a proper intentional kick, not just a block, the offside trap resets entirely. You could be standing miles offside, but if a defender intentionally plays it and just messes up, boom, you are suddenly onside again. But if that exact same ball just accidentally deflects off the defender's shin, you are still offside. A human referee has to decide, at full sprint, whether a defender meant to play the ball. The entire difference between a valid goal and a disallowed one hinges on guessing intent.
Section 4, VAR and the armpit. And here's where we leave behind the subjective human chaos and enter the rigid, robotic, and highly controversial era of modern technology.
Just look at this comparison. Before the video assistant referee, or VAR, arrived at the 2018 World Cup, the assistant referee made a snap judgment. They got it wrong a lot for sure, but we largely just accepted it. That was just football, right? Well, post-2018, everything changed. Suddenly, we had frozen frames and these digital lines drawn across players' bodies. Now, in theory, VAR provides perfect accuracy. But in practice, it made the game feel incredibly robotic and, bizarrely, way more controversial. Instead of arguing about whether a human raised a flag too early, we now have stadiums full of fans arguing with a machine over whether a striker's shoulder blade was 0.3 centimeters offside. That's progress, right?
Which brings us to the exact mechanics of the infamous armpit rule, the very thing that makes football fans just stare into the middle distance and question all their life choices. Let's walk through how VAR actually works here. First, it identifies any body part you can legally score a goal with. Head, torso, knee, foot. Arms don't count, but your torso definitely does. Second, the software draws a perfectly vertical line from the furthest legal body part straight down to the ground. Third, if that line crosses the defender's line, the goal is disallowed. Because the armpit region is technically part of the torso, analysts realized it was being used as the offside measurement line. So your arms and legs could be totally safely behind the defender, but if your armpit just leans past them, no way, the goal is gone. It's entirely logical based on the actual text of the rule, yet absolutely baffling to watch in practice.
So the crucial point is this. Offside is not a terribly complicated rule at its core. It's a rule made intensely complicated by the sheer speed of the modern game, the clinical precision of technology, and football's stubborn, chaotic insistence on applying 21st century science to a 19th century sport. We are literally taking raw human emotion, these incredible goals that make stadiums explode, and we're ruling them out with geometry.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question. The camera catches it, the software measures it, and the lines are definitively drawn. But has VAR actually made offside fairer for the sport? Or has it just turned football into a really frustrating maths exam? Drop your answer in the comments below, because I would absolutely love to see where you stand on this. And hey, if this explainer finally made the offside rule make sense for you, be sure to subscribe. We break down the complex controversies and the intricate rules of the game so you never have to ask, wait, how does that actually work ever again?